Ziggy Marley, who is Bob Marley's son, is getting criticism for supporting Israel. So there's just no right side, right? Like we learned this. We've already learned this. There's no right side on this. It's like no matter what, you're going to make somebody mad and you're going to piss them off. You might as well just keep your mouth shut these days. Bob Marley's eldest son, Ziggy Marley, speaks out after criticism of his move to sign a letter in support of Israel. Ziggy asserts his support for saving civilian lives regardless of which side. So he's taken the fence sitter route as well. But let's get into this. Ziggy Marley has been blasted for signing an open letter in support of Israel in the ongoing conflict with Gaza that has killed more than 5,000 Palestinians, half of whom are children. And the number is much more now. Israel has been bombing Gaza nonstop for more than a week, and accounts from inside Gaza shared by Gazans and press members show a devastating effect of the bombs, which maimed and killed thousands of children, women, and men. The latest conflict appears to have started after Hamas allegedly we know that. In return, Israel has launched a cruel and persistent attack on Gaza, funded and greenlit by the United States, which has left thousands of dead, including workers from the United Nations and other organizations, blah, blah, blah. Videos shared online by activists show the devastation wreaked on the Gazans, including the destruction of buildings reduced to rubble and residents dead and buried underneath, while others try feverishly to transport others to hospitals and struggling with limited supplies, no electricity, or running water. The Jabalia refugee camp and several hospitals and churches housing displaced Gazans were also bombed. Yeah, okay. So let's get to the part we want. However, despite all of this, all of what's happening, more than 700 Hollywood celebrities have signed an open letter sharing their support for Israel, including Ziggy Marley, the son of Bob Marley and father of Jewish children. Which it's funny that they added it. Of course he's going to support fucking his kids are Jewish. The letter was written by Creative Community for Peace. According to the Jewish Community Foundation of Los Angeles, the CCFP's role is to mobilize Hollywood music executives and pop artists to promote and support a positive image of Israel abroad. The main intention is to use public figures to establish a strong online and print media presence to create a distinctive circle of influence where industry insiders educate their artist friends and clients, who in turn educate the general public about Israel. So I've heard some things about this. So I've heard like celebrities talk about this, or comedians. I heard this one comedian talk about how he went to Israel and it was a free trip to Israel, but he had to like do a bunch of social media posts that shows him having fun and shows him speaking in a good light about Israel and stuff. So they said it was kind of icky, but what are you going to do? It was a free trip to Israel. Whatever. I wouldn't want to go to Israel, even when it's not war-torn. It's just too hot for me. I don't like the desert. So they just want they want influencers to influence the general public is what their whole stance is about Israel. The letter called on other Hollywood members to speak out forcefully against Hamas, to support Israel, to refrain from sharing misinformation about the war, and do whatever is in their power to urge the terrorist organization to return the innocent hostages to their families, that seems fair. That seems fair. Now, what qualifies as misinformation? Right? What is it that they qualify as misinformation? I don't know. The letter was released on October 12th, long before the escalation of the United States involvement and the massive loss of life became evident. Ziggy's label previously made a post where it seemingly straddled the fence on what's happening between the two nations. It is absolutely reasonable and logical to be opposed to the Israelis' government's treatment of the Palestinians while simultaneously calling for the protection of Jews in Israel and around the world. Hamas is a terrorist organization that is attacking civilians by land, air, and sea. The images of kidnapped Israelis are shocking and devastating. Given the thousands of years of persecution of the Jews, please know that your Jewish friends, even if they are not in Israel, are hurting and are fearful when things like this happen and non-Jews are silent. I understand many of us are afraid to voice an opinion because the crisis there is so nuanced and hard to understand, and are afraid of saying the wrong thing, but we can and must always use our voices to denounce terrorism and senseless murder of civilians, which I think is fair. And that's a great statement because a lot of people don't want to say shit because they know that they're going to get fucking hated and hazed online and fired from their job and you know, can't go back to the country club because you said the wrong thing. That's a very good point there. The label is run by Ziggy's wife, Orly Agai Marley, who is Israeli of Iranian Jewish descent. Ziggy has since updated his stance, seemingly referencing the loss of life of Israel or get canceled by me. Yeah. Moving Dutchman will come in here and put the cancel stamp on you, so watch out. A poster shared on Sunday read, "To whom it may concern, civilian lives matter, innocent lives matter, children's lives matter." Fair. In another post, Ziggy Marley shed some more light on his stance and previous statements, while also turning off the comments on his post because, you know, you gotta turn off the comments or else they're gonna come for you. That's why I love the comments. If you have time, think. I ask who really profit from never-ending wars and conflicts: the wickeds, the devils. For its business model to work, it needs to continually incentivize, foment, and educate hatred and fear between tribes and peoples. Which is very true. You can pick the reason for there are many to self-justify any action, Ziggy continues. That's the genius of its game. Give human beings a reason to commit the worst acts on each other, and human beings will. They say it's in our nature and we cannot evolve past it or resist its wicked pull. For some reason, for some of them, money is the payoff, and for others, it's power. For the devil, it's human blood, and it doesn't matter whose or from which side, doesn't matter whosoever or whatsoever. Human beings are the victims of its sinister game, some willing, some unwilling, and most caught in the middle. Sounds crazy, right? It doesn't sound crazy. I mean, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we know that war is profitable, and whoever wins takes power, right? He's since closed off his comment section due to the backlash that has not stopped followers of Marley from roasting him about his father's stance on apartheid. Bob Marley is known for famously calling out apartheid in South Africa and supporting the cause of Nelson Mandela, who was arrested and jailed for his resistance. Mandela was called a terrorist for pushing back against apartheid, which it goes back to that whole thing. It's one country's terrorist is another country's freedom fighter. So it just depends on where you're from and where you stand, I guess. Many online reminded Ziggy about his father's stance being on the right side of history. One fan from Zimbabwe wrote, "Mike, a friend of mine who I was with when Bob Marley came to Zimbabwe in 1980, says that he is dismayed at Ziggy Marley's support of Israel given his father's revolutionary stance. When Marley came to celebrate Zimbabwe's independence in 1980, Mike and I briefly spoke to Ziggy, age 10 at the time. He was clinging on to his mother, Rita. After greeting both of them, we asked Ziggy if he was going to follow in his father's footstep as a revolutionary singer. His response was simply, yeah, man. So signing a petition in support of Israel is not what one expects from a Jamaican-born revolutionary and son of Bob Marley, given the history of Israel and the Palestinians since 1948. However, I can understand Ziggy Marley signing this petition. Ziggy Marley has a personal connection to the country through his Israeli wife, Orly, and their Jamaican-Israeli daughter, Judah Victoria. One fan also raised Ziggy's connections to raising funds for Israel's Defense Force. Google Ziggy Marley FIDF fundraiser in 2018. He raised money for apartheid and sing songs of freedom. So you can't have any opinion anymore. Just so you guys know, nobody gets opinions anymore. But we should Google this. Let's Google this. Is it Bob Marley, IDF, and IDF attend Friends of Israel? So this is Ziggy Marley, Friends of Israel. He's been supportive of celebrities, help raise 60 million for defense, for Israel defense. Let's read what this says. The theme of this year's event, hosted by Haim and Cheryl Saban, was Making a Difference, 70 Years of Heroes and Hopes, designed around the frontline heroes and the heroes behind the heroes, paramedics in the IDF. Shortly before the official ceremonies commenced, a voiceover pronounced, we have gathered tonight to honor those who give everything to defend the Jewish people and the Jewish state. Before we begin our program, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge that today our Jewish family is in mourning. Please join us for a moment of silence. Okay, they're talking about the synagogue. All right, so this was definitely, he was raising money for the defense of Israel, which is constantly under fucking rocket fire from Hamas and Palestine and stuff. It's an ongoing thing, right? They're constantly throwing shit back at each other. Pharrell Williams has been criticized by Palestinians and others for performing at the recent gala in benefit of Israeli defense forces. The third member among likes of Ashton Kutcher, Gerard Butler, Andy Garcia, Fran Drescher, Ziggy Marley, David Foster, Catherine McPhee, David Draymond, don't know who that is, and famous names to appear on the Friends of Israel Defense Forces Western Religion Gala, which raised over $60 million earlier this month. Williams, who recently sent a cease and desist letter to the President Trump in protest of him using his track Happy at a rally shortly after the massacre at a synagogue, performed at the event. I like how they added that in there. So, people were mad. And here's the thing, right? You have a lot of artists and you have a lot of people of color who support that because there is a history. BLM, what is that? Let's see. Black rights and pro-Palestinian movement. So you have a lot of people who are support why Black Lives Matter supports pro-Palestinian. So Black Lives Matter ended up being a fucking scam, but it is interesting how these two movements sort of join forces, and how BLM and pro-Palestinian movement. So this is supposed to be Palestine, right? This is a George Floyd mural in Palestine. Many Black Lives Matter. Let's let them read it for once because I sound like a fucking.
The recent fighting between Israel and Hamas came amid shifting opinions here in the U.S. about the broader conflict there. Support for the Palestinians here in this country has been growing, which has been a goal for activists in the pro-Palestinian movement. And for years, they have had support from Black Lives Matter organizers. As NPR's Hansi-Lo Wang reports, these two movements are connected by a complicated history.
In streets across the U.S. in recent weeks,
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Many Black Lives Matter activists have joined calls against Israel's occupation of the West Bank and the U.S. alliance with Israel, including Zeli Thomas.
What we're seeing right now is nothing new, but carrying on the Black radical tradition.
Thomas is an organizer with Black Lives Matter in Paterson, New
Right
Jersey.
here.
We've known Malcolm X speak in support of the Palestinian liberation movement, the Black Panther Party, Angela Davis.
In the 1950s, Malcolm X was among the first black activists to speak out for the Palestinians and against Israel. That began during his time with the Nation of Islam, when he sometimes talked up anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Later, Malcolm X went to Gaza and visited Palestinian refugee camps months before his assassination in 1965. It helped set the stage in the U.S. for Black Power activists to spark a major flashpoint more than 2 years later.
War in the Middle East. Israeli forces drive...
After the 1967 war ended with Israel defeating Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, and as this Universal Newsreel reported,
capturing the west bank of the Jordan River and occupying the old city of Jerusalem.
That marked the start of Israel's occupation of the West Bank and other territories, and it marked a shift among African-American activists, many of whom supported Israel's founding as a homeland for Jews, including survivors of the Holocaust. But after the 1967 war, a different perspective was becoming more visible.
It was a real turning point.
Middle East historian Michael Fischbach is the author of Black Power and Palestine. The book details a controversial article that was published in the newsletter of one of the most influential organizations in the civil rights movement, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. The SNCC article described the Palestinians as, quote, victims of Zionist, British, and U.S. aggression. Fischbach says it represented a reframing among Black Power activists of the Middle East conflict as part of a worldwide struggle against colonialism and imperialism.
It became much easier not to see Israel as, the brave little republic farming in the desert, and instead see it, in their view, as a Western-sponsored interloper, a colonial settler state that had dispossessed a people of color.
The 1967 SNCC article was criticized for its rhetoric and drawings that evoked anti-Semitic tropes, including a $sign inside the Star of David. The newsletter's editor insisted that image was supposed to symbolize the close relationship between the U.S. and Israel. That alliance, Black Power activists argued, made the U.S. government a common enemy for African Americans and Palestinians.
The present discourse that criticized...
So you can see over the years, both of these movements have had things in common and have sort of moved together. You know what you won't find in the pro-Palestinian movement, where these two groups of people come together, is gays for Palestine and Palestinians, because gay is not cool for Palestinians, and especially in the Arab world. That is not, and even in Israel, it's not really that cool to be gay in Israel. Being gay in Palestine. Here we go. In this LGBT rights, the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, the local LGBT community faces a precarious situation due to the general lack of civil rights legislation aimed at tackling discrimination. However, there is a significant legal divide between the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, with the former having more progressive laws and the latter having more conservative laws. So the Gaza Strip has conservative law, West Bank has less conservative. Shortly after Jordanian annexation of the West Bank in 1950, same-sex acts were decriminalized across the territory with the adoption of Jordanian penal code. The Egyptian-occupied Gaza Strip, however, no such initiative between men is illegal. Since 2007, the Gaza Strip has been ruled by Hamas, and sexual activity between men is illegal due to Hamas enforcement of Islamic law, which needs citation. But that is generally what they seems to be the result there. You're not allowed to be gay. Some claim that homosexual acts are punishable up to 10 years in prison under the Gaza Penal Code of 1936. But yeah, a citation is needed. In the state of Palestine, there is no specific standalone civil rights legislation that protects LGBTQ people from discrimination or harassment, while hundreds of queer Palestinians are reported to have fled to Israel because of the hostility they face in Palestine. They have also been subject to house arrest or deportation from Israel by Israeli authorities on account of the applicability of the law of asylum to areas or nation in which Israel is in conflict. So Israel is like, fuck you, you get out. We don't care. According to 2010 compendium of laws against homosexuality produced by the International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transsexual, Intersex Association, the decriminalization of homosexuality in Palestine is patchwork. On one hand, same-sex acts were decriminalized in the Jordanian-controlled West Bank in 1951 and remain to this day. On the other hand, in the Gaza Strip, under the jurisdiction of Hamas, forbids same-sex acts between men. Citation is needed. This is due to the interpretation of Islamic law. Citation is needed, but then there's a citation. An Amnesty International report on Palestine from 2022 claims Section 152 of the Penal Code in Gaza criminalizes male consensual same-sex sexual activity and makes it punishable by up to 10 years of imprisonment. But it has been removed from the current report as of 2023. Palestine has no civil rights laws to protect. Okay, so yeah. How about gays in Israel? How's that? Being gay in Israel. How's that? Lesbian, gay, blah, blah, are considered the most developed in the Middle East. Although same-sex sexual activity was legalized in 1988, the former law against sodomy had not been enforced since the court's decision in 1963. Israel became the first country in Asia to recognize unregistered cohabitation between same-sex couples, making the first country in Asia to recognize same-sex unions in any capacity, although same-sex marriages are not performed in the country, as it does not have any civil, non-religious marriages. Israel recognizes same-sex marriages performed elsewhere. So it's still not something they do within the border of Israel, but they'll recognize it if you go to a different country and get married, gay married. So you can see here that there is still a little bit of bias going on here. Tel Aviv was referred to the Calgary Herald as one of the most gay-friendly cities in the world, famous for its annual Pride Parade and Gay Beach, earning it the nickname the gay capital of the Middle East. By Out magazine. According to users of the website Gay Cities, it is ranked as the best gay city in 2011, despite reports of some anti-LGBT violence during the 2000s, which were criticized by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Shimon Peres. A monument dedicated to gay victims of the Holocaust was erected in Tel Aviv in 2014. Opinion polls have found that a majority of Israelis support the legalization of same-sex marriage. There you go. So most people, it's a Western-based country, even though it's in the Middle East, but it's a Western-based country. So it's just interesting to see how some groups sort of glob onto other groups. Definitely, we saw the gays for Palestine, and then the memes that said queers for Palestine, and it also said chickens for KFC, right? Since they're not too friendly to the gays over there, and gays are supporting them, it's just an interesting dynamic. But hey. It's just so interesting to see how torn apart the left is getting over this. They're just like, oh no, what am I gonna do? Am I pro-Palestine or am I pro-Israel? If only Taylor Swift would make that decision for me. Others, I'm gonna go pee and then we're gonna watch Roger. You guys love him. You guys need him in your life. But we're going to watch some of it. So let me go pee real quick and I'll be RB. You know what? I can make it. Before this. I want to get through this. Here we go. Let's just watch this. This is Roger Waters. This was 2 weeks ago. This was his response to the breakout of the war. And of course, Roger Waters has been pro-Palestine for a long time, and we've gone over this 100,000 times. But that's what he's been called an anti-Semite for his pro-Palestinian stance. So let's hear what he said.
Good evening. This is what I wrote 2 days ago on the 11th. I'm going to read it out to you. It's just called Gaza, 11th of October, 2023.
Read it to us.
My heart is heavy. I'm angry and sad. I have things to say, obviously. I've been banging this drum for nearly 20 years. My message is simple. All these years, it's felt to me almost as if we're deaf to Mother Nature's calls for equal human rights for all our brothers and sisters. Equal human rights being the only antidote to war.
War.
Last Saturday, we listened to allegations of war crimes. I condemn them unreservedly. I have a Palestinian friend, Lama Al-Ariya. She lives in Beirut.
Which is
She
in
texted
Lebanon.
me in the middle of the night to tell me that 11 members of her family, including a 2-year-old cousin, were killed by Israeli bombing as they sat in the dark in Gaza on Sunday night. Naomi Klein, in an article in The Guardian yesterday, said, "This cannot be allowed to go on." I agree with Naomi Klein.
I agree, Naomi Klein. That's fucked up thing to get in the middle of the night is a text that 11 of my friends and a 2-year-old kid died because they're bombing the fuck out of Palestine. That's a fucked up thing. That is fucked up.
Here's my suggestion of what should be done. It's only an opinion. This is what should be done. 1, there must be an immediate and permanent ceasefire. No more
Fair.
killing by anyone, Hamas and the IDF included. So what next? How to prevent future bloodshed. 2, get round a big table and hammer out the bones of a one-state solution to this whole unholy mess. One based on respect for equal human rights under international law. A new state with equal human rights for all its citizens, irrespective of their ethnicity or religion.
A new state. What does that actually mean? Does that mean that Israel does not get to exist anymore? See, because that's a big problem with this, right? Is that a lot of these pro-Palestinian protesters and activists are calling for the eradication of Israel altogether. And that seems a little fucked up, right? I think the Jews deserve a place. And I realized that it was done under fucked up circumstances that misplaced a bunch of Palestinian people when Israel was sort of carved out. But that's how the war was won. And that's what happened. And so we got to figure out how to maintain within these boundaries, maintain some sort of peace. I think it's fucked up to say Israel shouldn't exist. But when you have people say from the sea to the, from the, what is it? From the sea to the, from the river to the sea. Is that right? Which basically means fucking Israel is out. And all the land goes back to the Palestinians. It's like, I don't think that should be the case. Let the Jews have their own place to stand. But we do have to take into consideration of the failure of the international community and how, as an international community, we turned a blind eye to these settlements that are encroaching out onto the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. And we knew this was going on, and we knew that this sort of apartheid system has been going on. So we should have stepped in a long time ago, but this is what happens. You can only put a Band-Aid on an open wound for so long before it starts getting infected.
Or previous nationality.
See, and that's what he's saying. Previous nationality. He's saying give it back to Palestine, give it back to the Arabs, and it's like, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. What are you gonna do with where's the Jews gonna go?
New state would be I've written this in italics, an actual real democracy. 3, my suspicion is that the new state's constitution would need to include provision for truth and reconciliation hearings like they had in post-apartheid South Africa. 4, a side issue. Obviously, the Golan Heights are not part of any of this. They are part of Syria, where they belong. So that's the dream. My heart is still heavy. I weep for all my brothers and sisters in the Holy Land, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Druze, agnostic, and atheist alike. Can we all look forward together to a world without war? Do we believe in universal human rights or not? Do we dream of a world
Not.
where all men and women are equal under the law?
Or not.
My father, 1914 to 1944, dreamed that dream.
I'm with it.
He died in Italy fighting the Nazis to defend that dream. I dream that dream too.
Oh.
No ifs, no ands, no buts.
What was that?
I dream that dream too. So, to whom it may concern.
Yeah, we get it. So, everyone's sort of weighing in on this whole subject. It's what I've heard over and over again. It's complicated. There's so much nuance, and it is that. It is definitely that. So what I thought was interesting is how many people over the years have. Oh, it stops when you're down here. He speaks totally different, which is a plus. He's just an ass. Like the way that Roger Waters talks is it makes you want to hate him. So I asked AI, why is the left divided? Let's read why the left is divided by this subject of Palestine and Israel. That is a complex and conversational question that does not have a simple answer. The left is not a monolithic bloc, and there are different perspectives and opinions of the Israel-Palestine conflict among left-wing groups and individuals. However, some possible factors that contribute to the divisions are historical context. The creation of Israel in 1948 has been seen to many on the left as a legitimate response to persecution and genocide of the Jews in Europe, especially during the Holocaust. Israel was also supported by the Soviet Union and socialist countries as a socialist ally in the Middle East. However, the establishment of Israel also involved the displacement and dispossession of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians who became refugees in neighboring countries or within Israel itself. The subsequent wars and occupation of Palestinian territories by Israel, as well as the expansion of Israel's settlement, have been condemned by many on the left as violations of human rights and international law. Some on the left also view Israel as a colonial occupier rather than an embattled underdog. So how quickly and easily people forget that there's only 15 million Jews. There's a billion fucking Muslims. Who's the underdog here? I don't know. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Ideological values. Left-wing ideology emphasizes equality and is generally critical of hierarchical power structures, imperialism, and oppression. It sees Israel as a dominant power that displaced Palestinian Arabs from their homeland during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Many on the left also support the right of the self-determination of oppressed peoples and see the Palestinians as an oppressed nation that deserves statehood and sovereignty. On the other hand, some on the left also recognize the right of the Jews have been a homeland and even safe haven from anti-Semitism and see Israel as a democratic state that faces existential threats from its hostile neighbors. Some on the left also support the two-state solution that would grant both Israel and Palestine their own states and mutual recognition. Roger H2O is the Waterloo. Roger H2O. He is the underdog. Political alliances. This is fun. The left is influenced by its political allies and opponents, both domestically and internationally. In the U.S., for example, the Democratic Party has traditionally been more supportive of Israel than the Republican Party, partly due to the influence of pro-Israel lobby groups and Jewish voters. However, in recent years, there have been a growing rift within the Democratic Party between its more progressive wing, which is more sympathetic to Palestine and critical to Israel's policies, and its more moderate wing, which is more aligned with Israel's interests. The Republican Party, on the other hand, has become more pro-Israel under former President Donald Trump, who moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, and brokered normalization deals between Israel and some Arab states. Internationally, the left has also influenced by its relations with the countries and movements that support and oppose Israel or Palestine. For example, some of the left are weary of supporting Palestine because of its association with Islamist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, which has seen an anti-democratic and anti-secular, and is seen as anti-democratic and anti-secular. Others on the left are critical of supporting Israel because the alliance with right-wing governments like Hungary and Brazil, and which are seen as authoritarian and anti-progressive. These are some of the reasons why. Okay, well, I guess that helps a little bit. I don't know if that helps at all, but I guess it does help sort of see what's going on here, why there's so much division. It's just funny to me. It's just funny to me. It's like you can't have any sort of nuanced opinions on shit. It has to be either you're with us or against us, and that's it. You son of a bitch. Don't be coming back over here. Okay, so then let's see. Where was the thing? Here it is. So there's been a lot of people who have been in support of Palestine over the years. And here's just a little bit of of some of them. This is from May 2021. So this is a lot of people. 600 people. So back in 2021, more than 600 musicians, including members of the Roots Arcade Fire, have issued an open letter in support of Palestinian rights. The group, calling themselves Musicians for Palestine, published a letter on Thursday, less than a week after Israel and Hamas agreed a ceasefire, ending 11 days of hostilities and left hundreds, mostly Palestinians, dead. Today, we speak together and demand justice, dignity, and the right to self-determination for Palestinian people and who are fighting colonial dispossession and violence across the planet. planet. The letter states. Fuck, dude. Whoa, Roger Waters and Tom Morello to perform a benefit concert for Gaza. Watch out. Among the signatories are Black Thought, Questlove of The Roots, Cypress Hill, Julian Casablancas of The Strokes, Royce D59, Sarah Vid of Run the Jewels Both, Serge Tankian of System of a Down, Fred Wreck, A-Track, Rage Against the Machine, Patti Smith, Chromeo, Thurston Moore, Sonic Youth, Twilight Quality, Roger Waters of Pink Floyd. Palestinian and Israeli artists, including Sama also signed the letter. Tensions boiled over into violence earlier this month over a potential removal of some Palestinian families from their homes in East Jerusalem. So this was from 2021 when there was a little conflict going on over there. So here's more celebrities. John Cusack. Who gives a fuck about John Cusack? I don't know who the Kalani is. I am. Roger got his in. Where is the other ones? I had a whole thing of this shit. I guess I'm just a fucking asshole then. He posted. So Serge posted, the vocalist of System of a Down posted a statement on Instagram calling for the end of apartheid, genocide in Palestine. I wonder if this is still up. Whoa, what is even happening here, bro? Rihanna supports Palestine. Look at this. Rihanna in 2014, the singer tweeted and quickly deleted Free Palestine, causing a furor among fans of political figures. That's what I was going to ask Bing. Why is being pro-Palestine seen as anti-Semitic? Now, I know that Hamas has in their founding documents, like part of their mission statement is to eliminate all Jews. So I get that. But I'm just wondering, there's no definitive answer why being pro-Palestine is seen as anti-Semitic by some people, but there are some possible explanations and perspectives that can be explored. Some people argue that being pro-Palestine is anti-Semitic because it implies denying the right of Israel to exist as a Jewish state or supporting the destruction of Israel by violent means. They claim that Israel is the only homeland and refuge for the Jewish people who have faced centuries of persecution and genocide, and that any attack on Israel is an attack on Jewish identity and survival. That's a good way to do it, man. That's like how the trans people got it, right? You can't say nothing about trans people or else you're transphobic. Some people contend that being pro-Palestine is anti-Semitic because it involves spreading false or distorted information about Israel, its history, its actions, or ignoring or minimizing the suffering and threats that Israel faces from its enemies. They accuse pro-Palestinian activists of using anti-Semitic tropes such as portraying Jews as evil, greedy, or controlling, or comparing Israel to Nazi Germany, which Roger H2O has done. Some people suggest that being pro-Palestine is anti-Semitic because it reflects a double standard or a selective outrage against Israel while ignoring or excusing the human rights violations and atrocities committed by other countries or groups, especially in the Middle East. They point out that Israel is often singled out for criticism and condemnation by the international community, the media, and civil societies, while the oppression and violence inflicted by Hamas, Iran, Syria, and Saudi Arabia are overlooked or justified. Some people maintain that being pro-Palestinian is not anti-Semitic, but rather a legitimate or moral stance that supports the rights and dignity of the Palestinian people, who have been living under occupation, colonization, and apartheid for decades. They assert that criticizing Israeli policies and actions is not the same as criticizing Judaism or Jews as a whole, and that one can be both pro-Palestine and pro-Israel, or at least anti-occupation and anti-violence, which I'm with that. That seems to be reasonable. Some people acknowledge that being pro-Palestine is not inherently anti-Semitic, but also recognizes that some pro-Palestine activists or movements may harbor or express anti-Semitic views over sentiments either intentionally or unintentionally. They urge pro-Palestinian supporters to be vigilant and careful about the language and symbols they use, and to denounce and distance themselves from any forms of anti-Semitism or hatred may arise in their ranks. There were people, God, what was that video that came out? Did you guys see that? Here's the thing. People are turning into fucktards. For real. Anytime there's a whole race of people that some people don't like, and there's, people are starting to turn on them, they start glomming together and start thinking, hey, it's okay for us to fucking say fucked up things. And, let our inner fucking racism come out.
Scenes from the pro-Palestinian protests in Australia have shocked many around the world. The actions of a minority of protesters outside the Opera House generated outcry far beyond Sydney.
They are scenes which prompted condemnation from the Prime Minister and New South Wales Premier, an iconic Australian landmark broadcast around the world.
This one in Australia on the steps of the Sydney Opera House is absolutely alarming.
Multiple overseas media outlets shared this video posted by the Australian Jewish Association, purportedly showing some protesters chanting anti-Semitic phrases outside Sydney's iconic landmark.
They're saying gas the Jews. Gas the Jews. See, there's always some asshole who has to take it too far. Right? It's like, no. Let's back up a bit. Let's not gas any fucking buddy. Let's just sit down and have a fucking conversation. We're not gassing anyone, folks. Like, let's not gas anybody. This is Australia. Those fucking Australians are fucking crazy anyways. But for the people who are truly anti-Semitic, this is their time to shine, right? So I told you the damn Jews are gonna do. I hate that shit. Don't like it. I don't like it. Obama shamelessly calls out Israel after funding what? After funding military state. Oh. Lefties turn on each other.
Let's start Lefties losing it in Lefty Heartland of DC.
Lefty
Heartland. A man in a dress chanting for Palestine.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free
Palestine! People in Palestine would arrest that guy and throw him off a roof for wearing a dress.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Now, I do not have to tell our learned viewers what would happen to that man or any man in a dress if he walked down any street in Gaza. It would not end well. And Prue, what these people don't seem to understand, that the only place in the Middle East where alternative lifestyles are protected, where these people have some rights, is Israel. And yet they are so against the only Jewish state and the only place where they would be safe in the Middle East.
Yeah, it's astounding. You look, we don't think they have much.
Which is what we were talking about earlier. It's like, fuck, dude, why are they against Israel? Because it's true, Israel, even though they don't have gay marriage, they still recognize it if you get gay married somewhere outside the country. But, they still recognize it. It's at least something, right? And then they just sit there and the left eats itself, right? They're just like, no, you're not left enough. And if you're pro-Israel, it's like, I'm pro both of these motherfuckers existing. Why can't we just be pro both of these groups of folks existing? Why can't we just be for that? Why do all the Jews have to go? Why do all the fucking Palestinians gotta go? Why can't we just figure this shit out? Even if they have to build a wall between each other, like, build the fucking wall. Don't let them into Israel then. Fuck it. Just let them live their own lives. This is funny, though.
Intellect. We've never thought that about these people, but they've clearly been brainwashed, or maybe this is the fault of an education system, that they don't understand history. They're not aware of what's going on in the world. They're happy to latch on to any bandwagon that they think, poor things might need their support.
2,000. Her squad colleague about why Israel shouldn't take action against terrorists who behead babies and burn entire families alive.
But by the way, the beheading babies thing was debunked.
How many more killings is enough for you? Is it 1,000 more? 2,000 more? 3,000?
I would hit what's her name? Twali or something. I'd smash.
So how many more Palestinians would make you happy if they died? Will you be fine if all of the people of Gaza were gone? Would that make you happy? Would that be the thing that makes you proud? And maybe that's the question you should ask Richie. Is he okay? How many more Palestinian lives is he comfortable with? Because I am not comfortable with any more.
I mean, she should be posing those questions to Hamas, who put their headquarters and store their ammunition in hospitals and put their rocket launchers next to playgrounds. I mean, they're the people you should be addressing those questions to.
And how much of that is real? Here's the thing about right-wing media is that they have definitely gone straight Israel, and they want to just start denying it. They want to just say that Israel is beautiful and perfect and never did anything wrong and welcomed the Palestinians with open arms, and which is not true either. They're all sort of putting they're all just sort of putting their narrative twist on everything.
Now let's go to this lefty losing it. Don't ever ask the left to explain themselves or even the signs they carry.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
That's
what
the
happens
one.
to Israel? Curious. Oh, please don't touch my microphone. That's not okay. You're not going to tell us what happens to Israel?
Look.
Will you tell us what happens to Israel if Palestine is free from the river to the sea? What does that mean? Settler colonialism is the real terrorism?
We know what.
Which this is what happens, right? When people sort of have their little slogan, they have their whole mind made up about shit, and then when you sort of press them and ask them questions about it, all of a sudden they get silent because they have nothing to say. It's like, wait, you want Israel to just go away? Like, you want them not to exist anymore? That's what you're saying?
What that line, that chant that we've been hearing in Australia as well means. It means there is no Israel. It means there is no Jewish state. It means ethnic genocide. So if you're going to carry that sign, then I think you should own it.
Well, they're just moronically parroting words. They don't really understand the fact that, apart from the fact that I think they both were smoking weed before they actually went onto the streets. So
what's wrong with that, bitch? They can smoke weed and go protest.
Out of it. Unless that is their intellect. Maybe they're just showing how stupid they are. But, they had no idea. They couldn't explain themselves. They're just, poor things who have latched onto a bandwagon, like the idea of that little catchy, from the river to the sea, and, off they go. They're just mindless fools. And dangerous.
They are.
They
dangerous,
are.
mindless,
dangerous.
useful idiots. Now to the UK,
Useful
where
idiots.
police will arrest you in your own house for misgendering someone or posting a transphobic limerick on Twitter, but chanting about jihad and killing Jews seems to be tolerated. But police did confront these young men who were seen with a British flag, the St George Cross here, and gave them a stern warning about any naughty behaviour. Let's listen to this exchange with the constabulary.
For the moment, anything racist or even close to racism is said. All right. Hang on, no. Let me finish. Let me finish. All right. For the moment, anything gets anything close to that, all right, people are going to start getting arrested. It's just a verbal warning to let you know.
See, this is what I'm saying. Like, freedom of speech doesn't exist in these countries, so they don't know. They don't know the sweet freedom of just being able to say what you want.
And staying in the UK, let's have a look at what happened when someone brought a pride flag to a pro-Palestinian rally in London. I can tell you the flag did not last long, obviously. It was dealt with in some fairly brutal circumstances. Yeah, again, this is not just lefties losing it, but these lefties turning on each other.
They don't bring a pride flag to a pro-Palestinian march. And they're like, I thought we were on the same side, bitch. No. If you're not gay, you can't hang out with us. I mean, if you're gay, you can't be over here.
Staying in the UK, here are some lefties triggered by British symbols. Look how many police officers it takes to protect a man holding a St. George flag.
Oh, what? What flag? I don't even know what that flag is. They want to fucking murder this guy, though. We'll kill him because of his flag.
Now let's have a look at these charming individuals removing images of missing Israeli children taken hostage by Hamas.
No, you don't. Stop acting like a victim. I'm videoing. I care. Don't f***ing video. I care.
God damn. That's fucked up, dude.
I don't care. Israel.
Jesus Christ. Fuck Israel with my Starbucks. Bitch, you have a Starbucks in your hand. Oh my God. I can't stand these people. First of all, fuck Israel. Okay, fuck a whole group of people, I guess. Get rid of them, right? Murder everybody in Israel, I guess. And then fucking you have a Starbucks bag in which they support Israel. You stupid bitch, you don't even know what you're doing, you're saying. It's crazy.
You pieces of victim. Go cry. You know, you're anti-Semitic. Why don't you do something for Palestine? Why don't you? This is for Palestine.
They're not mutually exclusive. It's children. It's children. It's innocent.
It's children.
Okay, what about the children in Palestine?
That bitch has never even been to Palestine, I guarantee it. I bet she's never even, she probably doesn't know anybody from Palestine.
It's not, it doesn't make it, Jesus.
Yeah, terrorists, yeah.
What?
That's fine by me.
Put on Facebook. All over Facebook.
Now, that is happening not just in the UK, but across the US and elsewhere in the West. And I could show you literally hours of similar footage. Hours.
I love
it's
that.
depressing. But there is a
It's funny,
fight
though.
back. And I want to show you these two New York lefties and how they react when they're confronted about removing posters of missing women and children.
Do it. I'm a citizen here, and this is American citizens. You got it. You're not going to do it. Get the out of here. This is American citizens. Got kidnapped. You get the out of here. Put your back. Get the out of here. American citizens. You bitch. American citizens got kidnapped.
That was in Brooklyn.
The wife, the girlfriend or whatever, she's just like looking around like, oh, what's happening? What the fuck? I didn't do none of this.
Brooklyn, you get the feeling that couple aren't used to being challenged. Now to New Jersey, where an anti-Hamas billboard has been removed after around 100 calls to police. I don't know why. This seems to be entirely...
Oh, don't be naive. Hamas would chop your head off too. Jewbelong.com. Jewbelong. Jewbelong.org. Which is true, by the way. Don't be naive. Hamas would chop your head off too. I mean, it's true. It's true. We can acknowledge that Hamas is evil dogs, but also acknowledge that Palestinians don't deserve to die in droves because of the decisions some assholes made.
Accurate. The billboard reads, "Oh, don't be naive. Hamas would chop your head off too." I think that's a message a few people need to actually comprehend.
They should.
Prue, not sure why police were being called here when I would say that is a harsh, but a statement of fact, a harsh statement of fact.
It is, but the problem is that the police forces around the world are politicised now, and they're also worried about being litigated against and hauled over the coals. It's all about PC now, and it seems that the most vocal minorities are the ones that are going to be accommodated.
Well, I don't know about sitting by the pool drinking pina coladas, but Army Horowitz is back. We haven't seen you for a while, Army. How are you? In New Orleans, I gather.
Indeed. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me, guys. It's good to be back.
Now, you've been, as always, you make these terrific videos, and the strength of these videos is how you kind of expose what people really think by speaking to the man or woman in the street. This one is one of your very, very best, I have to say, Army. It's superb. We'll play little grabs of it in a moment, but basically, you set out to question the gay community in San Francisco about who they preferred or who they sided with in the Israel-Palestine conflict, and they all sided with Palestine. Have a listen.
Do you tend to side more with one side versus the other?
Palestine. We are here to support the Palestinians and give them a right to freedom and the right to self-sovereignty, and also for Israel to sort of maintain its ground and stay in its own lane without infringing on the journeys of others. I mean,
Don't infringe on the journeys of others. That's such an American bullshit thing to say. Don't interfere on my journey.
ex-wife and I talked about it a lot. That's quite frankly how I learned more about it, but it was really about like Israel for being such bullies. And
So, Army, what a great idea. What did you then do?
Oh. Incredible and like kind of bizarre connection, alliance between the left in general and the gay community specifically and the Palestinians. And on the surface, it makes absolutely no sense, right? They don't share any moral values. In fact, their moral values are in direct conflict with one another, particularly when it comes to gays. So it always vexed me and the pro-Israel community on why that is. Now, ultimately, the reason why it is this notion of intersectionality, the idea that victimhood, and I've always said victimhood is the most corrosive and powerful emotion that humans have, and this proves it, because they say because of our joint victimhood, we are connected and we are allies. And that victimhood overrides even their sense of being, because literally gay people are being murdered and raped by the Palestinians, yet they have avoided that small sticky issue to say that we're together. So what I did was, after I interviewed them, I actually went to the Palestinian territories. I went to the West Bank, not crazy Hamas, right? Not Islamic fundamentalist Hamas, but the quote unquote moderate West Bank. And what I found was, when I was talking to imams, politicians, men in the street, I had the same exact theme to everybody I spoke with. It was somewhere in the spectrum of, on the least offensive, we need to jail and institutionalize these people, to rape and murder them. And that was a spectrum of ideas that I had on what should be done to the Palestinians. And I put that back
Army,
to these people.
Army, I'll just stop you there, Army, and I'll just show a couple of clips of first you talking to an Islamic preacher in the West
I kind of
Bank,
want to see
and
this.
then I'll play you some of your vox pops where you stopped people, even though your guide told you not to, because he thought it would be too explosive, where you stopped and spoke to people in the streets of the West Bank about gays. So first, here's your Islamic preacher.
What should be done to gay people? الحكم للي بده يمشي في هاي الطريق ويمشي في هاي الطريق يطبق حكم الإسلام عليه. فاعل مفعول به.
The honor killing
Streets of the West Bank about gays. So first, here's your Islamic preacher.
What should be done to gay people? الحكم للي بده يمشي
Someone who goes down this path of being gay.
في هاي الطريق ويمشي في هاي الطريق.
The Islamic punishment of death should apply to them.
يطبق حكم الإسلام.
This is
فاعل مفعول به.
the giver and receiver. Oh shit. The giver and the receiver both. Oh Lord.
Things with gays. Can you understand why a father would want to kill his gay son?
Because it's not honor for him.
It's honor for him.
You then also, Army, spoke to a gay Palestinian who obviously didn't reveal his face. It was undercover. Let's have a look at that clip as well.
Like, you know, they have fun. They started, you know, abusing them mentally, abusing them physically. And then, like, after they're like they're done and bored, if they're not interested in sleeping with the guys that they arrested, they just put them to jail.
So he was basically saying that the police, the Palestinian police, who he said are identical to the Palestinian Authority, if they suspect you're gay, first of all, they will arrest you, then they will rape you, and then put you in jail, which is bizarre in itself. So what then happened, Army, after you've done that?
So I did something I normally don't do. I went back to the people that you saw at the beginning of the video, the gay people in San Francisco, and it became a reaction video where they're watching my documentary in real time. And you can see the sea change. You can see them changing their position on this literally as they're watching it. And
They're just like, wait a second, but I thought they were oppressed and I'm oppressed and we're on the same team.
Afterwards, and I said, well, what do you think now? Who do you support now? Every single person I spoke to changed their.
Oh.
We've just lost, we've just lost Army there. So, sorry, Army, we've just lost you. But the point Army was making, which is true in the video, and I'll show you in a second, is that everybody he showed, every gay person in San Francisco he showed who previously had supported Palestine, changed their mind simply from watching this. Have a look.
A little bit on the situation?
Yeah, I mean, like, I honestly, I didn't know that was even going on.
Of course you didn't, because you just fucking saw it on Twitter and repeated it to your stupid fucking friends.
So it made me aware of it.
It makes me wonder if the information that I've learned is entirely...
Wait, what information did you learn? What did he go into deep research? Is like, how do Palestinians feel about the gays? Why should the gays defend Palestine?
Fairly accurate.
So, Army, we just saw a couple of the people you went back to, and what astonished me, but it was so perceptive, was the guy who said, you know, I think I've been fed the wrong information all these years. So you have highlighted the fact, not only of what is happening in Palestine to gays, but also the fact that the left are deliberately deceiving the gay community in the West, correct?
Yes, and I think what the takeaway from this thing is that this is look. When people are less jaded than you think, okay? And when confronted with facts, and you have them captured, in the sense that they're listening to you, they're watching, you can change people's perceptions once the facts, the true facts, are given to them. And that's what I think is positive about this video, was that you saw these people change their perspective in real time once they saw what was really going on. And like they said, not the left-wing talking points they've been fed and they've believed all these years.
But
so that's the positive that I take away.
Army, you had the couple, the woman who said, me and my wife used to discuss this all the time. So obviously there was a level of interest, there was a level of knowledge. How could they be ignorant about the Muslim world's attitude to homosexuality and what oppression that community faces in the Middle East? I mean, how could you possibly have that level of ignorance when you're bold enough to express solidarity with the Palestinian cause? I'm just wondering where this comes from, like the level of interest to have an opinion, but then the total lack of knowledge about even the most basic facts.
Rita, welcome to our real world these days. Yes, this is what
It's like you have this huge interest in the subject matter, but have no context of the situation. You just like, I know that the Palestinians need to be free. I'd give my gay little heart to a dead Palestinian child if it would end the war. I bet the parent of that dead Palestinian child would be like, I don't want no gay heart. Keep your gay heart.
This is what it's like. Yes, people have very, very strong positions. Very strong positions with absolutely...
Gays for Palestine.
Joining me now is that incorrigible Texan himself. He's an AOC fanboy and comic, Alex Stein. Alex, you have been, frankly, out of control in recent days. I'm worried that I'm going to have to start some sort of a GoFundMe in the near future to bail you out of jail. Let's just have a look at some of your recent antics. Here you are, mocking the suicidal idiocy of LGBT activists who protest for Palestine, a place where they wouldn't last 5 minutes. Here you present your case to Plano Council in Texas.
I'm here representing Gays for Palestine. We're an organization representing the 2SL LGBTQIA plus community that stands with the persecuted Muslims who just want a jihad in peace, all right?
Who just want a jihad in peace? Get the fuck out of here.
A lot of people are rushing to judgment against the Palestinians right now because of the stuff they're seeing on TV. I just want to say, a lot of people have misconceptions about Palestine. Mia Khalifa, one of the most popular porn stars in America, who has done a bunch of lesbians.
Mia Khalifa, there was a huge thing that happened with her, if you guys didn't see that.
Is standing with the Palestinians. And just because they've thrown a few of my allies off of roofs in the past, that doesn't make them bad people. We must look past
There you go, throwing gays off the roof.
that. Because, you know, this is 2024. Palestine is changing. And just because gay people have had to run to Israel for protection in the past doesn't mean anything. We love that their women have very little rights. That's why they have such few traffic accidents. So we agree on more than
women's right to drive. That's why they have few traffic accidents. That's fucked up.
think. Palestine is on its way in the gay direction.
Alex, I have a lot of questions, but
He's laughing at his own jokes. That's funny.
first, let's not miss out on this song you wrote for the occasion.
I'll say it one more time. All the gays love Palestine. All the gays love Palestine. All the gays love Palestine.
That's the only section of the song that we could play. Alex, please explain yourself.
Well, Rita, you know that I'm insane and that I'm crazy, but what I do is called culture jamming. Like, I take the most absurd parts of our culture and I try to jam it in people's faces to bring awareness to it. And there's nothing more hypocritical in this entire world than seeing the LGBTQ community coming out in support of Hamas, basically. I mean, you would think that this was a joke written by Saturday Night Live, but this is a real thing.
Queers for
And
Palestine.
if they were to go to Palestine, they would literally be thrown off a roof. I mean, that's not hyperbole. That literally happened. So it's just kind of shocking, I guess you would say, that people have such strongholds in their identity politics that they can't even, see the nuance of supporting an organization that literally wants to kill people because of their sexual orientation.
The only place members of the LGBT community are safe in the Middle East is in Israel, and yet they're doing.
Yet they're against Israel. And again, Israel isn't the most greatest place, right, for the gay movement, but it's better than Palestine. Who's better? Who deserves to live? Who deserves to die? I don't know. That's not me, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, yay, Hamas for killing children and raping women, or fucking, yay, Israel because fucking they're our allies and they've been committing atrocities to the Palestinians for years. There's no yay about anything. There's no... It's literally people should be calling for peace. That's what we should be talking about. Not fucking who should be winning, who's right, who's wrong. Because again, Hamas to some Palestinians are freedom fighters. To us, they're terrorists. So it's all about perspective, where you at, where you sit, where you live, where you stand. It's a very, very complex thing. I sent you a message on Instagram, so please